interest of certain smaller groups like the Ijos, the Shekiris. Mind you, Jonathan is an... I think
Jonathan is south.
South.
Yeah.
That's when we go by geopolitical zones. Nigeria has 6 geopolitical zones. The Northwest, the Northeast, the North Central, the Southwest, Southeast, South. But then beyond this little local geopolitical stratification, we have the larger regional dynamics. But then, one of the reasons why Jonathan withdrew from the race actually was that there were some group within the Southerners who felt that it was an attempt by the North to reconsolidate power. And mind you, in Obasanjo's first year term from 99, there was this belief that Obasanjo was actually crowned by the North because it was the Northerner that was living in office at that time, General Abdulsalam Abubakar. So if there was, I think in the first election, he performed woefully in his hometown, Abeokuta.
Because the people of Abeokuta didn't want him to be president?
Because the Southerners felt that he was too aligned with the North.
But he needed to, because the transition had been controlled by the North.
Well, the suspicion didn't start today. Obasanjo was Murtala Mohammed's deputy.
Yes.
And so when Murtala Mohammed was assassinated, there was this troika. He wasn't supposed to lead actually. He was, Theophilus Yakubu Danjuma was supposed to lead. But he was scared of his life. So he brought Obasanjo to the top. In order to balance the equation, that was how come Yaradua Elder was joined to the clique.
Yes.
Show Musa Yaradua.
Yes.
So there's this belief that Obasanjo has always been close to the North. So the North used Obasanjo to control Nigeria in his first term. In the
first term of the presidency.
Yeah.
Not the 70s one.
No, in the first term, 1999, they felt he was too subservient to Babangida at the time. So subsequently, so there was this belief that one of the reasons why he brought Yaradua, the election that brought Yaradua to power was a bit questionable.
In terms is after Obasanjo's term, yes.
People, the credibility of the election due to some issues, there was this doubt. But people say it was duty bound
to hand over to the North. After
so
2 terms.
Yeah, so there's those who believe that this is the same attempt by the North to consolidate.
So they think the North is coming for Goodluck Jonathan because he can do 1 term.
Yeah.
And after he's done 1 term, he'll go back to the
North.
The North wants him. He's a Southerner. He'll do 1 term. He goes back to the North.
To serve 2 terms.
And they'll come for another 2 terms. And so the Southerners are not happy. So the convergence with Ghana is the role of the question of 1 term. That's the similarity. So that if Jonathan could have done 2 terms, the Southerners would have been okay with it. Well, is that plausible?
If Jonathan would be able to do 2 terms,
assuming he'll be able to do 2 terms, the Southerners will be okay with it.
They'll be okay with it.
But Tinubu is a Southerner too. So why don't the Southerners coalesce behind Tinubu and push Tinubu, who can do 2 terms? And Tinubu is really a godfather of the APC party. To all intents and purposes, if Jonathan had run the contest with Tinubu at the end of May, it looks like Tinubu will win.
You know, when we go back to, let's understand the Nigerian situation now. Let's go back to the early days of independence. We had 3 regions. The North was a singular block.
Yeah.
But you had the Western region, headed by AG Action Group of Bhavamiya Awolowo. And you had the NCNC
yeah.
of Nnamdi
Azikiwe,
which is more stronger in the South. Even though the party was actually formed in Lagos itself by Herbert Macaulay. So, and the Biafran Civil War, actually...
Biafran Civil War came later.
When it came, something happened in that Civil War. Initially, the Westerners were unconcerned. They felt it was a clash between the North and the East. But there was this attempt by Ojukwu to actually conquer Lagos. But to capture Lagos, you must pass through Yoruba land. So he came through the old Bende state, Edo, and was coming downwards to Lagos and was stopped at Ore. When the Biafrans were defeated in Ore, it changed the mentality of the Westerners. Now the war is now being brought to them. And that's so the kind of seed of mistrust, the deeper mistrust between the West and the East. And then culturally, because of the proximity of the West closer to the North, the Yorubas, when you're heading to the North, are more Muslim dominated and to the forest zone. And historically had more contact with the Northerners. So there's this quite sense of, despite the animosity, kind of convergence that they tend to relate far better with each other than with the Easterners.
So the West is closer to North.
To the North, in terms of cultural affinity.
And so you got Buhari getting votes in the South, isn't it? I mean, when the South votes came out, Lagos had voted for Buhari in the 2015 one that he defeated Jonathan. Yeah, Lagos had voted for Buhari.
Yeah, the Saudi votes he got actually came mostly from the Western region because of the proximity between.
So that I'm justifying the point you're making. Okay, so that is why a northern candidate like Buhari will secure votes in the South.
Yeah.
Okay, but my question still stands: that why is the South not backing the stakeholders in the South? Why are they not backing Tinubu?
Well, The APC,
or is it Buhari's agenda to have Jonathan? Because when we did the research last week, what we found was that the Jonathan is a Muhammadu Buhari agenda to obscure Tinubu's chances from becoming president of Nigeria.
Yeah, there's this belief that Buhari is trying to break away from the unwritten agreement between he and Tinubu.
Correct.
And one of the reasons for the suspicion was the suspension of Adam Oshomole, who was then chairman of the APC, was seen to be more pro Tinubu than pro Buhari. So when there was this attempt to remove him, and then finally Buhari had to intervene and appoint interim working committee headed by Balabuni. That was, I think, the governor of.
But is Buhari working on his own, or he's carrying a northern agenda in terms of wanting to bring Jonathan back? Is he working on his own? Is it a personal thing, or is carrying a northern agenda? Because he's also a big stakeholder in the north, having been a military ruler and all of that. He's a big stakeholder. Is he carrying a northern agenda, or is personal?
Well, when it comes to the north, it's more like a collective agenda than individual goal. Because ever since the days of, I think, what do you call it, Ahmadu Bello and the first coup, there's this belief that even Sharia law being implemented in Nigeria was actually a political calculation than a religious calculation. Because if you go back to history, most Northerners have ruled Nigeria than Southerners. And these were Muslim generals.
Most Northerners are what?
Northerners have ruled Nigeria more than Southerners.
Oh, they have, yes.
And they were Muslims. But why didn't they implement Sharia law when the North was in control?
Of the government, like Buhari is in control now.
But when Obasanjo got power, then there was this clamor for Sharia. There are those who believe that it was an attempt by the North to find ways and means of weakening Obasanjo control. Because if you go by constitutionality, then Nigeria is neither a secular state nor a theocratic state. You can have multiple conforming laws in one country, but you cannot have two antagonistic laws. In letter and in spirit, Sharia law contradicts Nigerian constitution.
Yeah, it does. It violates human rights. It contradicts many modern constitutions.
The northern states are theocratic, embedded within a so-called secular entity. So people see it as an attempt by the North to always cheapen or weaken the influence of the South. And another issue.
Okay, let's move on quickly.
And then, unfortunately,
so who is this?
This is Peter Obi. The last time I did the list, I had an oversight, and I really regretted doing that though, because he was very strong contender within PDP.
For the PDP seat.
Yeah.
So he's challenging Atiku.
Yeah, he was actually.
He's a governor of where? Anambra State.
Two-term governor of Anambra State, and he was his running mate in the previous election, 2019.
He was whose running mate? Atiku's running mate in the election that they lost.
The one they lost.
So he's also running for the PDP position. Is Obasanjo still in PDP politics?
Obasanjo, I think, has grown beyond party politics to a statesman. One of the reasons why Obasanjo was actually supported in the first instance he came for 1999 was that Obasanjo was the first military man in Nigerian history to voluntarily went to the barrack.
Yeah, then
in 79.
In the 70s, yeah.
And did one thing very peculiar. When he was going, he ensured that every member of his regime retired alongside him, because he wanted to stabilize the system.
I don't know whether you can give Obasanjo credit for that, because it was a sort of global move, like what we had in 1992. It happened in Ghana. The SMC of Achampong were going away. And in going away, they were all retiring and they were handed over to a constitutional rule. The timetable is very similar between Ghana's 79 election and Nigeria's 79 election. And the Ghana's military rule from 1972 up to 1979, Nigeria's military rule from that time, all the military people coming in line as Obasanjo, the last person. So I'm not sure whether credit should be given to Obasanjo himself, because there was international pressure on West Africa to democratize. And so it happened in 79 in Ghana, it happened in 79 in Nigeria. At that time, Ivory Coast was very stable with Houphouët Boigny, so they were not a big part of it. Togo were stable within the Cold War context with Yadema, so they were not a big part of it. Blaise Upper Volta was still Upper Volta. It was a bit unstable at the time. But Ghana and Nigeria had always been important to international powers in West Africa. So really, maybe not so much Obasanjo's desire to move, but even though we have to give him some credit. But it was a wave in West Africa at the time.
But the advantage that emerged out of his decision to take everybody along was when we compare his exit to Babangida's infamous exit. Babangida left technically, but wanted to be the power behind the scene, and brought Ernest Shonekan.
Babangida was not happy that Moshood Abiola won the election.
So he brought Shonekan.
So it was a personal decision
so he brought
to obscure Moshood Abiola and take him out.
But then he left. Yeah. He left. I think
if Abiola had not won the election on June 10, Babangida may not have intervened. But he was frightened that Abiola had won the election.
So what I'm saying is that he left Abacha to protect Shonekan.
Yes.
But because Abacha was a co-member of his old regime, Abacha did the opposite, overthrew Shonekan.
Yes, he did.
So that's the advantage of Obasanjo's decision of taking everybody along.
Abacha's decision to overthrow Shonekan was also a military decision, because Shonekan's capacity and competence to maintain the stability after the murder of Moshood Abiola and the denial of Abiola's presidency, was throwing Nigeria into a civil war. Abiola was very popular, and he had control of the media. Yeah. The Concord newspaper and all that were Abiola. And Abiola had international connection. And so the denial of Abiola's presidential victory affected a lot of people. Shonikan did not have the oomph. You needed a military general who was feared to handle Nigeria at the time. Otherwise, it was going to blow up. Babangida had created a total mess and exited. Abacha's decision to enter, I think, was a noble one in terms of military context, because he came in to stabilize the thing. Of course, he later on then took Nigeria on the downward spiral of human rights abuse and just totally messed up Nigeria, became a pariah state and all that. But the intervention was necessary at the time because Shonikan was not going to be able to control it.
But it equally has a personal twist to it. There's no coup in Nigeria history that did not have Abacha's
yes. So
and he was one person that every coup plotter would either go to ask with his support or refuse to prevent. Because if you decide to prevent your coup, it doesn't succeed. That was one. And it only takes us back to 1966, the first coup. Technically, there were 3 coups in a year. Because Ironsi, who was a GOC of the army, was supposed to protect the remnant of the regime. He equally used the same argument of Abacha, that the remnant of the regime under the leadership of Nwafor Orinzu, who was the Senate president, and by the absence of the president, was supposed to be the leader at the time, could not secure the polity. So he came and intervened. So he could see the personal aspect of it. But then this is another candidate.
Okay, let's move on. I was going to say something about Chief Okoti Ebom, who was a reason for the coup, because he was a southerner who was becoming very, very powerful financially, and the northerners were not quite happy with that. So he was executed on the first day of the coup, Okoti Ebom. But we'll talk about that later. Let's go.
This is another candidate. Aminu Waziri Tubonwali. He was a former Speaker of the Nigerian Senate. There's a president of the Senate, rather, and he's also a governor.
And this is PDP or APC?
The same PDP.
PDP, okay.
These are one of the 2 candidates. And another controversial argument is the application of the Article 137, Section 3, as amended. This law was actually passed in 2017.
What does the law say?
A person who was sworn in to complete the term of which another person was elected as a president shall not be elected to such office for more than a single term.
It's very complicated.
So now the issue.
Okay, so let's go through again. A person who was sworn in to complete a term. So that is Jonathan, sworn in to complete the term of Yar'Adua.
Yeah.
Okay. For which another person was elected. That's for which Shehu Yar'Adua had been elected and he died. As president, shall not be elected to such office for more than a single term. So the single term is counted excluding the one that he continues.
So the single term is counted with the one he served, he inherited, and the one he served, making 2 terms. So the argument,
it just shows that the Nigerian constitution has not got the legal sophistication of the Ghanaian one, because the Ghanaian one is very interesting. If you take over the power in the first 2 terms, first 2 years of the 4-year term, it is considered a full term. If you take power the next 2 years of the first term, it's not considered a term. So John Mahama took power in the 4th year of the Mills administration in 2012. The election was won in 2008, sworn in 2009. It was running until 2013, 7 January. And John Mahama became president on 24th July of 2012. So that's considered in the second half of the Mills term. Therefore, under the Ghanaian constitution, John Mahama is not deemed to have served 1 term. So that's not 1 term. So he finishes the term, he wins his election, which he did, and he served 1 term. He has 1 more full term to go. This kind of arrangement where they don't say when. So even if the thing happens in the second term, 1 month to go, even if it's 1 month to go, you are sworn in.
I'm sure the Ghanaian constitution, that aspect was preconceived.
Yes.
Was there.
And it shows a lot of thinking went into it.
But in the Nigerian election, in the Nigerian situation, it was brought into effect in 2017.
After the Jonathan
debacle.
So it was targeted at Jonathan?
You know, for the Jonathan debacle, it took the courage of Saraki, actually, turned over power to Jonathan, because he had to convince the Senate by passing a doctrine of necessity.
When Yar'Adua died?
When Yar'Adua was going for medical checkup in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
He didn't hand over power to Jonathan. So Jonathan was virtually incapacitated.
Their constitution doesn't say the president, when he's leaving the jurisdiction, should hand over power.
It was left to his discretion. So
it's a discretion of the president?
Yeah, so he went to
the Nigerian constitution must learn from the Ghanaian
and by then, Jonathan was not making substantive decision. So Nigeria was virtually leaderless.
So when he died, what happened?
So it took the courage of Saraki. No, even before he died, it took the courage of Saraki to bring the doctrine of necessity into the chamber of the Senate for the law to be debated, for power to be handed over to Jonathan. But then, when this law was passed, was 2017, you could see some element of, I don't know, whether vindictiveness or deliberate attempt by APC to consolidate power at the time, because they just came back from winning election.
But this cannot have a retrospective application.
But there's this argument. But you could see after, PDP ruled for 16 years, APC coming to power, this attempt to also, maintain your hold on power. So it could be that this law emerged out of that kind of concern. But then there are those who are arguing for it, either retrospective or prospective application.
It cannot be retrospective.
So
I don't know how it can be.
On the retrospective,
in Ghana's constitution, it's very clear that no law shall have retrospective effects. It's fundamental to any development of any society. But I'm not sure why anybody would think that.
But Jonathan's withdrawal has actually ended the debate.
It has.
It could have gone to the Supreme Court.
But I'm guessing that he withdrew because he knew that Tinubu would defeat him.
No, I think one of the reasons he withdrew, aside the issue of the Southern agreement, was that he didn't get the solid assurance of Buhari that he will be anointed as the consensus candidate. One very interesting thing about Nigerian politics is that
consensus candidate in APC,
of course,
when Tinubu is running,
even the primaries, the chairman,
Tinubu is not going to stop running.
The chairman that emerged out of APC primaries was actually a consensus candidate.
But this one is only happening. It's happening a few weeks from now, so the campaign is over. Tinubu is in. He's not going to compromise.
Most Nigerian parties actually don't have ideological divide.
Yes, they do.
Most of these big. The only time Nigeria had ideological divide was in the First Republic.
Yes.
Awolowo was a socialist.
Nigeria is all right wing. Yeah, they're all right wing.
No, but the left
Buhari can say what he wants, but APC is right wing.
The left wing are just they exist, but they're just at the fringes.
Very, very fringe. So the two main political parties that have been running Nigeria since 1999 are all right-wing parties. So they don't have left-wing. It makes their life a bit easier. Sorry, I'm a right-wing thinker, so but it makes life a bit easy if all the political parties are thinking to the right. These left-wing people, they disturb us, don't they? They worry us. They like lying too much.
And sometimes when they are going for primaries, they always attempt to have, because if you don't, due to the size and the number of offices, if you don't really manage the situation very well, the blowback could be very disastrous. So they always attempt this consensus candidate where they do horse trading behind the scene.
Yeah.
So even the party chairman emerged out of horse trading. So Jonathan felt that since he wasn't given that assurance, his legacy was at stake.
Because Buhari's, and you saw that when Buhari's wife did the fasting break, Tinubu was there. And Tinubu is Muslim apparently.
Yeah.
Yes, which is very interesting. He's famous Lagos governor who is Muslim. There are conversations about his age and all that. People believe that he's actually 86 and he says he's 70. But that's a different conversation.
There's another interesting conversation about his adherence to the faith actually, because his wife is a Christian. So the North has this.
But for what Tinubu has done to Lagos, in transferring Lagos and creating Fashola as his inherited person, transforming Lagos dramatically over 25 years, doesn't he deserve to be president of Nigeria?
Retrospectively, we can say that
Tinubu deserves to be president of Nigeria.
Tinubu's management of Lagos
actually
was what also motivated Nigerians to give APC the chance.
And Tinubu's management of Lagos is the point that I've been making in Ghana that allowed the president to pass the law so that we can have people elected as mayors. Tinubu was elected as a mayor. Today he's coming to the presidency and said that, see what I did with Lagos. Other people are coming to the Ghanaian presidency and we don't know what they've done. They can't say anything. But if we have that system and somebody has gone to be mayor of Kumasi when NDC was in power and now he wants to be MPP presidential candidate, he can say that, see what I've done with Kumasi. He can see. I believe that Nigerians are going to vote for Tinubu for the simple reason of what he did with Lagos. I think he's qualified. As for the age, I don't know. They say he's 86 and he says he's 70. I'm not sure. I don't know which is which. But he looks like a very strong man. On the fasting break, he was walking. He was hanging around like anybody else. So, should we conclude on Tinubu will go here? The odds, we give Tinubu the odds 1 to 2.
Now,
1 to 2 that Tinubu will win.
Tinubu has an
APC
advantage over other candidates if the zoning should take effect, that the power will not be tilted to the south. But the problem,
power is due for the south now.
That is if, because there's
Buhari
there's this belief that Buhari is attempting to chip the block.
But he's failed with Jonathan. That was Buhari's trump card.
But then Tinubu also has a problem. Most of his contenders are also from his own backyard.
He will defeat them.
And you also recently you have this
But does he have money? Does Tinubu have money?
Very, very dusted.
Oh, he has.
You have this. You have,
okay.
you have
Let's run through. Our sports minister is ready for the conversation. Let's run through it. Let's go.
And then who's this? And this is another problem. The candidates keep rising up the list.
Yeah. With 3 weeks to go.
This is the current president of the Nigerian
Who does this guy look like? Prophet Osubemba, doesn't he? But it's certainly not him. Okay, let's go through. Who is Aisha Yesufu?
She's a leading activist in Nigeria. She was actually at the forefront of NSAS. This lady with the hijab, this Muslim lady. Yeah, she's one of those. And this is what she was saying. Her assertion was that the
Tinubu
whole
doesn't fight Atiku over you.
Jonathan
doesn't fight Buhari over you. Peter Obi has never fought Yemi Osibanjo over you. Saraki has never fought Kwankwaso over you. Yet you fight everyone and everybody over them. If you need 100 million naira to save your life right now, will you see? Referring to the 100 million naira that Jonathan used to pay there.
The argument is just that the whole argument of zoning, ethnic identity in the politics
has nothing to do with the ordinary Nigerian.
It's just to suit the elite.
And nothing to do with ordinary Nigerian. So what's her point? What should ordinary Nigerians? Shouldn't vote?
Use your conscience. You have a lot of
Use your conscience to vote.
Yeah, you have a lot of parties on the ballot box.
Okay, that's okay. Voting is always about conscience.
And then there's another aspect of which
Frank Donga, what is he saying?
He's also arguing about what 100 million naira can do.
100 million naira can get a good combined harvester, decent irrigation system, solar solution for a farm settlement, agro-processing plant, small scale, primary health care for rural farmers, low interest loan for 10 farmers, community-based agro storage, fixed roads to farming areas. So what's his point? The $240,000 price for the thing is too much.
Could have served other purpose.
Could have served other purpose. Okay, but how do you get the 200,000 from Jonathan for other purpose?
And that's why people are still surprised at Buhari's decision, because when he was contesting, APC's form was actually 20 million naira, and he claimed he couldn't afford, and he took support of donation.
But he as president didn't decide the 100 million.
But he's the leader of the party.
Yeah, but the party has a chairman, so it's the party chairman that decided that one.
No, but you see,
Buhari is not a great
the argument is if he could intervene to deal with the issue of the chairmanship tussle within the party,
then he could have intervened.
He could also take effective decisions.
Okay, the last one, he says that can the Northern Group donate the 100 million
so
from rejected by Goodluck Jonathan to another aspirant? Is it transferable? Educate me, please. Okay, so altogether, at the end of this month, maybe before the end of this month, we'll get more information from Nigeria and bring back to our viewers a bit more on the latest in the Nigerian situation. But that's Bello and I having a job at Nigeria. So we're going to bed now. I'm supporting Tinubu. Who are you supporting?
Well, I'll keep my candidate to my chest.
Okay. I think that Bola Tinubu is going to win the APC leadership, and he's going to be in pole position to be president of Nigeria. Never mind how old he is. I don't know. He says he's 70. I think that's the official one that we have to take. Those saying that he's 86, I don't know whether they gave birth to him or they were
football age
when he gave birth to him. And Atiku might be on the ticket for the APC. I think PDP, I think Goodluck Jonathan has been sensible in withdrawing from the race, but Nigeria is a very interesting country, so we're going to keep watching on it. Bello, thank you for the report. All right, so we go to talk about sports now, and Honorable Minister, yes, I remember the Kumasi Sports Stadium when we saw you, and you promised us that you were going to qualify.
Deliver.
You did, absolutely. You are very relaxed now. So how are we doing for the World Cup? People are blaming and complaining that 25 million is too much money.
Yeah, first of all, I can see when you mentioned the sports minister was here, your guests were just staring at me because Ghana versus Nigeria, the Nigerians are not happy. So, so the 25 million Ghana cedis, US dollars to prepare our national teams to be able to participate in the AFCON that we...
Oh, it's not just for World Cup?
It wasn't just for World Cup, but it was for all our national team to invest in them, to get them to be able to prepare in their qualification, and also eventually when they qualify, they should be able to participate in those competitions. Okay. And you can see the results now. You have our black princesses now qualifying for World Cup in Costa Rica.
Oh, they have?
They have. The black princesses have qualified, under 20 women national team have qualified. The black maidens are just about also qualifying. They are left with just 2 matches to play with Morocco, home and away. Okay. And hopefully they are going to qualify. Then you have the almighty Black Stars also qualifying. Aside that, we have a historic record of qualifying for Commonwealth Games. So far, almost 113 athletes have qualified to participate in Commonwealth Games.
They made a time?
Yes.
Okay.
The athletes, I mean boxers,
athletes, so they met the qualification criteria.
They've gone for several qualification competitions, and they've all qualified for Birmingham, which is just also around the corner. It is as a result of all this huge investment that government is putting in, and also the corporate financial fundraising drive. His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the launch, and they responded. So far, we have received almost more than $2 million US dollars, even though we are looking for 25 million. We are still on course, appealing to corporate Ghana to support us, because they can see the good feeling that the whole country gets.
But that's all, the good feeling is really about the Black Stars.
Now that on the athletic front, you know, currently the best 100-meter dash is a Ghanaian.
Oh, I see.
Benjamin Kweku Azamati. The best 100 meters dash is a Ghanaian. And this is historic. It has never happened.
Best where? Commonwealth, Olympics?
No, the whole world, global.
Oh, in terms of time?
Yes, in terms of time.
How fast is he running the 100 meters?
9.8.
Oh, 9.8 is solid.
Yes.
9.80.
Yes.
Well, that's not bad. If you were to do 9.7, that's Olympic finalist.
Yes. And he was.
I see. Has any Ghanaian run 9 points before? Maybe
this is the first time.
Yeah, I doubt. I have to ask Res Bube that.
And this Benjamin Azamati is a Ghana fastest, Res Bube's graduate.
Okay, he trained from the school, from the fastest human.
Fastest human. So this initiative is very, very good initiative. And Paul, you should be ambassador for $25 million fundraising drive to help us raise to support our sports.
We will do that. We'll do that. But one of the ladies sitting behind you, Matilda, she wants to go to Qatar. Everyone wants to go to Qatar.
Everyone wants to go. On daily basis, I receive a lot of messages and
how do we go to Qatar?
Everybody wants to go.
But when we checked on the internet, the hotels are full already.
The hotels are full.
Do we have some? Does Ghana have some?
Yeah, Ghana, we are
locked for us.
Locked for the national team. And you know, in terms of the national the team, FIFA comes in to support in terms of where they are going to be housed and all. So all those things have been secured already. Also supporters to go and support. We are working very closely with the federation in Qatar to ensure that at least we also get people to support our national team when they get there.
I see. Okay, coaching.
Coaching.
Has it been resolved?
It's resolved.
Who is the coach?
The coach is Otuado.
Who is technical director?
Technical advisor.
Technical advisor is who?
Technical advisor is Chris Whitten.
George Boateng is
George Boateng is assistant coach, and Didi Dramani is also assistant coach.
Who's goalkeeper's coach?
Olele
Kingston.
Olele Kingston.
Can I be the midfielder's coach?
You have to put in your application.
Yes. I had a Samoajan the other day. He sat in your chair and he says that he's put on weight, and if he loses weight, he will consider. Is he welcome?
In fact, every Ghanaian footballer is welcome, but it's left with the technical team to assess their performance, their current performance, so that they will determine who goes into the 2016 that will go for campaign, then eventually who will be at Qatar, the 23-member team.
Or we'll take 26 to the campaign, and
yes,
FIFA allows us to bring 23 to the World Cup.
Yes, 23.
Including how many goalkeepers? 4. Hey, that's tight.
They're very tight.
23 minus 4, that's what, 19?
19.
So you have outfield players 19.
So yeah, 19 and
4 strikers. That's now 19 minus 4.
Yeah. So you have to be performing world class.
So you won't take Patrick Razak.
And be committed to the flag. And be committed to our country.
Razak.
It's all depend about the technical team.
Did you see the goal Patrick Razak scored against Kotoko in the President's Cup? The last minute goal. Yes. The pace at which he ran.
Yes.
If he was being calculated, the calculating 100 meters, I had done it in 8 seconds.
Yes. But
you won't take him.
All these things, I as a minister don't decide who gets into the national team, but the technical team will decide. They are scouting all the players. Every single footballer, Ghanaian footballer, is being looked on because Coach Otuado see football as science, technical. And George Boateng and Didi Dramani also are supporting him. Chris Whitten, an excellent man. They are all supporting and working together. And they are assessing each player day by day. So at the end of the day, and luckily for us, we have the AFCON qualifier to play before even the World Cup.
When?
We are having our first match with Madagascar just next month, 1st June.
How many games are we going to play in AFCON?
We are going to play 4 games before World Cup, and we might have 4-nation tournaments as part of the preparation for World Cup in Japan, where we'll play Japan, Chile, and also Tunisia, of which the GFA they've already had the agreement with the Japanese FA for us to have this 4-nation tournament, all in effort to prepare our national team so that they'll have good playing time together. The coach, the technical team will understand the players, individual players, and know what they can do at what given time.
I see. So we are going to the World Cup thinking that we're going to win?
Inshallah, that is the objective for every qualifying nation to the World Cup is to go for the trophy.
Final part of our conversation, if I don't ask you to beat me up, to 2023 All Africa Games, do we still have it?
Oh yes, we have.
We are still the host.
And, we are still.
Are we being threatened with rights?
No, not at all. The only challenge we had was to do with the Anoka and UKSA. UKSA and Anoka had issues with the AU, but in terms of our facilities requirement, being able to get all the facilities that are required for the games, we are on track. We decided to adopt the hybrid model. The hybrid model meaning we are going to leverage on the facilities that we already have as a nation, upgrade them to meet the standard that are required by the AU. Then those we don't have, like Aquatic Center, we develop them. So we are developing 10-lane competition pool aquatic center at Bhavamiya, just at the University of Ghana farms, just close by the.
Okay, so that's where the swimming will happen.
Yes, the swimming will happen. Then we are developing a warm-up pool, which is also 8-lane. So in African games, it's just like Olympic games, but the continental one. Everything that you do, you are supposed to do twice. We call two. Like the track, you need the competition track
and the training one,
and the warm-up one. So we are also constructing a new training track at the University of Ghana, close to the University of Ghana Stadium. We are upgrading the University of Ghana
tracks
Stadium.
Running.
Yes.
But it's a stadium. It's a football stadium.
The football stadium is there.
You put tracks around it.
You put tracks around it. That is for the competition. Then outside the stadium, we are putting up a new warm-up track.
Oh, I see. Which the university can use after the tournament.
So it's just 5 minutes away from the main competition bowl. So, and we have a walkway, which is going to be covered for the athletes to be able to use 5 minutes. So once they are needed, they just pass through 5 minutes and get to the track and be able
to. So in 23 we will host. Next year we are hosting the tournament. What month? What month?
The target, the tentative date month is in August. But as a host nation, we have the right to choose from June or.
So that's the minister in your picture inspecting the. You were inspecting the Legon.
So that's the Legon Sports Stadium, which is the contractor currently working very vigorously to ensure that we meet all the requirements. So here, the Titan track, the then Titan track is being taken off. We are going to put Mondo. Mondo tracks are now the best tracks in the world, which is certified by the World Athletic Federation. So the World Athletic Federation experts have come here to inspect and also does the installation. So that is the warm-up. So we are doing a warm-up, which is just close by. Then after that, we are also doing a rugby field. Rugby. And the rugby field is going to have, also going to meet international standard so that we can host any rugby tournament in Ghana. Aside that, we are doing a basketball arena. 1,000-seater basketball arena.
1,000-seater.
1,000-seater basketball arena. We're also doing tennis courts, and I know you like playing tennis.
I do. So you're doing at the University of Ghana?
No, yes, at the University of Ghana Farms, Bhavamiya, we are doing a tennis court, 1,000-seater as well. 1,000-seater.
What's this? The hostels? What's that?
So that's the hostel where the Games Village, what we call the Games Village. You know, the concept of the Olympic Games is to bring nations together. So normally there is one city hosting. It's not like football where you have multiple cities hosting. So here we are using Accra 2023. University of Ghana have been gracious enough. They've given us their hostel facility, the Liman Halls facilities. So we are upgrading those facilities to meet the requirement. We have to put in air conditions. We have to put in heating systems so that we can get both hot and cold water for the athletes. And those are the requirements for the games that we are working on. So you can see all those in the video. So the work is progressing steadily, and every month, these are routine monthly meeting. My visit on any time every month. I make sure that I visit to check the progress so that
you are doing so well.
So that we are able to meet the deadline and be able to provide the facilities required for the games.
Wow. So on the games we are good.
So
on World Cup we are good.
On the games there is no any worries at all. We are just appealing to the contractors to ensure that they keep on the pace that they are working and add workforce so that we'll be able to complete on schedule.
What happened with the Bhavamiya Stadium being banned after the Nigeria game? Did we do something wrong?
No, not at all. The Bhavamiya Stadium, you know, before even we used it for the game, we were doing renovation. So His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo decided that we have to renovate all the stadiums in this country. So we started with the Greater Accra Sports Stadium, Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 completed. Then we moved to Kumasi. Now Phase 1 just got completed before the game. So after the game, we have to put certain things in place. When they did the first inspection, CAF came and did the first inspection. There are certain things that we're supposed to put in place. The dressing room For example, they needed us to increase the capacity. So the capacity is going to be increased, and the toilet facilities in there as well have to be increased. So those are the things they are asking us, and we are working. A task force has been put in place to ensure with the GFA. We work with the National Sports Authority and the GFA to ensure that we get all those facilities that are required to meet the CAF standard and be able to host any tournament. Aside that, we are also renovating the Cape Coast Sports Stadium. We did the first phase, which also has been certified by CAF to host any international tournament. Then also Secondary Takrady Sports Stadium. It's also undergoing renovation. Esipong. It's also undergoing renovation. So a massive investment as far as sports infrastructure is concerned is being undertaken by this government. Aside that, 10 multipurpose youth resource centers are also currently being built. It started by my predecessor. All the first phase have been completed. The second phase currently ongoing. Then also to add, we have also collaborated with state-owned agencies to also provide grassroots sports facilities, what we call the AstroTurfs. So the AstroTurfs, almost 90. And Paul,
across the country.
You'll be amazed that before His Excellency assumption to office as a president, we had only 2 AstroTurfs in Ghana.
In the whole Ghana?
In the whole Ghana. Today we are talking of 90, and we are still counting.
Have we done 90, or we are promising to do 90?
No, we have done 90. We have done
Okay.
90, and they are all being utilized as we speak. And
when you count, are you counting those that Asamoah has done at Accra Academy?
No. We are counting those Ghana.
Government has paid for.
When I say government, it could be GMPC, Ghana Gas. So we work very closely with these agencies.
Yeah.
GAPOHA, working with the Coastal Development Authorities, the Middle Belt Development Authority, and the Northern Development Authority. So all these government agencies, and even sometimes private agencies, McDan has done, but McDan in doing so have to come so that we give him all the dimensions, the specifications to be able to do it and put them there. So government is working very closely within government and also asking private sector to also support so that we provide the needed sports facilities at the grassroots, because we are shifting from sports promotion to sports development. And sports development, we are talking of grassroots sports development, where we give opportunity to the young ones to develop talent. And in the developed countries like the Western world, UK, where I was trained, sports is a big deal in terms of the economic development, the contribution to the economy. Anytime when I was living as Seven Sisters and Edmonton, close to Tottenham, anytime Tottenham is playing, the economy of that place.
Even for security purposes.
For security.
Because people are focusing on the game, so they don't commit crime. So crime goes down when Tottenham is at home.
And even when Ghana, Nigeria, after we won, you can see the good feeling, everybody is happy. So those are the things. And it boosts the economy as well. So we are positioning sports as one of the economic driver of our country.
I see, Honorable Minister. You still haven't answered the Qatar question. Are we going or not?
Yeah, we are going.
No, not the Black Stars. We here, my team, all of us, everybody.
You have no problem at all. So you just support us in our fundraising drive.
And once we raise the money.
Once we raise the money, you have no problem at all. We are making
sure. So you mean you can take 3 ladies, 1 guy here, 1, 2, 3?
Paul, I said just support. Let your guys here. Let your guys here support the campaign to support our national team, the Black Stars. And the corporate institution call on them to support us, and all of you will go to Qatar to cheer the stars.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for the minister then.
Thank you.
All right, Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We have a big conversation coming up with the Minister for Energy on the petroleum. You want a question? One each, please.
Okay, then Sir says, great submission, Honorable Minister. You are doing so well. And then Eddie Mensah says, can you please ask the minister what he's doing about the stadiums the last minister was building to improve football infrastructure in the country? Remember, they are legacy projects.
Okay, I think we'll leave it here, and then we will get Energy Minister on the table. So let me take a short break. I have a break. I hope it's ready. Let me take that break when we do that, as we do the transition, and then we'll get back to you. I have the Samira Bhavamiya literature stuff to read as well. After the break, we'll be back. This Good Evening Ghana and is live.
To help meet your business and private printing needs successfully, we have just the right products and services. At Appointed Time Printing Limited, we specialize in digital printing, offset printing, packaging and security printing. Our innovative designs and complete professional touch on our print products such as posters, flyers, brochures, magazines, poll cards and any other print solution of your choice ensure that our customers are always happily connected to their audience. With our security printing section, our clients are assured of a highly secured and confidential work process from start to finish. At Appointed Time, our prices are very competitive. Locate us at the old GNTC building near Swansea Shopping Arcade, Accra. Contact us on 0501 454165, 0501 454167. Appointed Time Printing Limited. Our printing is a solution.
Stop that trash. Stop it now. Stop that trash. Stop all that trash. Stop it now. Your girlfriend gives you a new ride, and you go pick your side chick. Why you taking her for a ride? This lifestyle, dear, trash it. If you get dustbin for your place, do the shocky as you trash your waist. When you baller, you nigga some then hide your face.
Zoom Lion is giving you 1 million bins for free to get rid of your trash. Download the Zoom Lion app now for your free bin, or make trash collection payment, or simply dial *857#. Zoom Lion, your waste management expert.
Top everywhere. So I began to research into why Ghana is so, and I Okay, welcome back to the show, and the Samira Bhavamiya Literature Prize is here. The Samira Bhavamiya Literature Prize was instituted in 2020 to encourage young aspiring writers to explore their art with the world. The goal is to contribute to the growing of the Ghanaian literary space by exposing the creativity of young writers through the publication of their content in an anthology. So what are the eligibility criteria for the Samira Bhavamiya Prize? One must be Ghanaian living in Ghana. He must be between the ages of 18 and 30 years. Original unpublished series, must submit only one entry, upload a valid national ID card. The prize and awards are 5,000 cedis, 3,000 cedis, 2,000 cedis for the first, second, and third place respectively, and 1,000 cedis for highly recommended entries. Laptop for the first place, certificates for participants, and published winners anthology. So that's the Samira Bhavamiya Prize. It's open now. Google it on the internet and you find the details, and then you can check it out. Okay, thank you very much. That's the Samira Bhavamiya Prize. Do you have any text messages on either Nigeria or sport? Oh, you are not ready? Okay, let me start with Mikhail.
Okay. Now, from Ebenezer, he says, please in Nigeria, the Nigerian constitution, it is stated that the president must hand over legally. But please, Nigeria is a country where law is not respected. The Northerners don't allow the law to work. When Yar'Adua died, if they had, they would not have allowed Jonathan to rule. Now, this one says, good evening, Ghana. Please, I'm Ebenezer, Nigeria, and I do watch your program, and I must say it, that I do enjoy it. But to report about news in Nigeria is not always true regarding Jonathan. He never purchased presidential forms for himself. It was a group in northern parts of the country with hidden agenda that bought the forms, and he rejected that form outrightly. He's a PDP member, and how will he purchase a form under APC? He can never decamp to APC, so how will he contest for primaries? Now, from Kumbungu, he says, I am Isaaku Suedu Jupiter, an Afro-optimist. I think Africa's politics has not served Africa well. Despite the fact that Africa handles diversity better than Europe and America, I hold the view our politics has not served us well. The day Nigeria wakes up economically, Africa will never be the same. That is my view, and that does not necessarily represent the truth. Now lastly, Moses Ntamale says, the decision to withdraw from the Nigerian presidential race by Goodluck Jonathan must serve as an eye-opener for John Mahama and the NDC. Jonathan dropped because he would have served one term, even if he had won the elections, which would have affected the chances of his party, the ANC. So his decision to withdraw. Same applies for John Mahama here in Ghana, though he is far from winning the 2024 elections. Why can't the NDC get another credible candidate, instead of relying on JDM, who is destined to lose to Dr. Bhavamiya? This is from Moses.
All right, from the president, tell the honorable minister to Kate, the Black Star spiritual father. Sorry, that comment is not very clear. From Evans Yauduku, I'm very much impressed by the work the sports ministry is doing. I think the government is not doing well in selling the good work and the successes. From Emmanuel Jamin, Mariam is the dark version of Samira Bhavamiya. And from Herman, from Kwekuaka, has Baba Yarawa been fixed to international standard? From Densa, great submissions, Honorable Minister, you are doing so well. From Felix Venyo Jakala, why are you parking all these facilities in Accra that are choked already? Why not locate them to other parts that need development? And from Yao Bafo Anderson, ask the sports minister what happened to the 10 stadia started by Honorable Isiama.
From Gasti Man, he says, Paul, it seems to me the sports ministry lacks the authority to make decisions. It seems the GFA has overshadowed them. They must behave independently and stop impressing the authority. Salisu Mohammed says, Paul, this minister has done so well, yet hardly makes noise. I was working with the federation, and I can attest to the fact that this is the only minister who has given attention and has massively supported lesser-known sports. He added that, Paul, using the hybrid approach was the best for Ghana. Kudos to the minister for acting smart and intelligent. He's the type of person we want in the realms of affairs of Ghana. He talks less but gives out huge results.
Okay, so from Peter Ochre, why can't Ghana bring out their own developed players but always looking for already made players, putting pressure on them? Also coming from Robert Jacobs, Paul, you are very well versed in this discussion. You are young, but you know a lot of things. You know a lot of things about history of this Abiola, whom I knew in AKG, Lagos in 1978. He was the owner of the Concord newspaper. Still watching you from Chicago, USA. And from Charles Somete. Since Nana said he is not going to IMF and said Ghana beyond aid, all manner of research against Ghana is coming out to discredit the government, to force it to go begging the IMF for credibility, so as to equalize with NDC. Anybody that really wants to develop this country, they'll come at him, Yao, at Hohoi.
Okay, shall we continue with the program in the studio then? Andrew Ejapamesa, Member of Parliament for 2nd D, Deputy Minister for Energy, is here with us. Honorable Minister, good evening.
My brother.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
I heard you enjoy earlier
it's
today.
Good to hear, yes.
Light off, people are concerned. Saturday was particularly worrying.
Well, let me say good evening to our cherished viewers. Of course, because of the incident from last Saturday, you hear a lot of talk that that in itself amounted to doom so. As if to say people are quick to forget that if you operate within a technical space, any hitch may trigger the kind of situation that we encountered last Saturday. And that cannot, under the stretch of any imagination, be made to look as if to say that it's as a result of some deficiency in our generation capacity that led to what it is that transpired. Indeed, there is a WhatsApp platform that energy value chain where the gas production and whatever it is that happens, particularly in the Western Generation Enclave, is put there. And I believe around 7 o'clock or so, there was a message that was put there that some low pressure in the offshore receiving facility, that's where the gas from ENI is received onshore, had some low pressure issues that had triggered some, if you like, problem with the Greco network. And so some aspect of it had to be turned off. And if you look at the statement that Greco released post the incident, that is exactly what happened. And so when the pressure picked up, the
power was
restored until
for some of us, we get confused about VRA, ECG, Gridco, especially those of us who are quite old, because when we were growing up, there was no Gridco. All we know is Electricity Company of Ghana and Volta Authority. Then there's Gridco and now. So who are they? Who is ECG?
Well, ECG is the electricity distribution company.
So they distribute electricity to our homes and offices?
Yes, from the bulk supply points where the high voltage power is broken down to the capacity that you and I can consume. Okay, so that's what ECG does.
So where's ECG getting this power from to
it
distribute
gets it
to us?
From the transmission company,
which is
Gridco.
So Gridco is a transition company. Transmission company.
They transmit the power from the power producers, which is VRA. In the past, that's what we knew because we're only dependent
on VRA, the Volta Authority, is a power producer.
Absolutely.
But so they were producing power from the hydro dam.
From the hydro dam. But because of the liberal regime that we went to, we introduced independent power producers.
That is independent of who? VRA?
Independent. I mean, they are not state-owned actors.
Okay.
So private sector. So then they initially started producing the thermal generation. Of course, VRA also has some thermal assets, okay? But private sector people were encouraged to enter the space. And
so they are not hydro, they are not using water to give us the energy?
It's only VRA that owns, and now of course, BUI that owns our thermal assets. I mean, there are hydro assets. All others use thermal, and they either use gas or light crude oil or heavy fuel oil.
That's quite expensive, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I see.
Indeed,
okay.
Of all the fuel sources that is used to power our thermal assets, it's gas that is the cheapest.
Oh, gas is cheaper than hydro, than the water?
No, hydro is the cheapest. I'm saying that the thermal assets.
Okay, the thermal assets.
Yes,
among the thermal gases.
Yes.
So gas is cheaper than crude?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So when the MPP says that we inherited excess power we don't need, what does it mean?
You see, I wonder why our friends in the NDC want to challenge the data when it in fact speaks for itself. Because if you look at the data and beyond the Energy Ministry's own information, I'm sure you've heard most times people referring to the World Bank and the IMF as headmasters who, if you provide them with information, that then is supposed to be the most authentic. Okay, I have a document that was generated by the World Bank that shows our installed capacity.
As of which year?
As of 2016, and then the additions post 2016. Okay, and you will see the peak demand, which then is a curve that shows at every point how much that actual demand from all the consumers in Ghana amounts to. And if you look at that curve against the installed capacity and the additional capacity post 2015, in fact, you see clearly that indeed we have excess over and above what the peak demand is. And so I fail to understand
that is made, which may worry people if it's true, is that at the time Doomsor occurred, we were not short of capacity.
Absolutely, we're not. But
the government's decision of the day was to procure more capacity.
You see, there is what is called the power demand plan that the Energy Commission then generates to guide the additional capacity that every government or within a particular time that ought to be added onto our grid. But what it is that transpired when we had Doomsor, and if you recall, His Excellency the Vice President, then candidate Bhavamiya, said that it was essentially a financial problem.
A financial problem, yes.
Because
that's what he said.
Recall, and in fact, the facts speak to that. Recall that we're told that some damage to the West African gas pipeline, okay, which essentially was what was transporting gas from Nigeria to Ghana, is what has caused the lack of gas to power our plants.
Yes, we were to that as one of the reasons. Yeah, the West African gas pipeline had been disrupted.
That was the main reason, yes.
I interviewed President Mahama, he said that.
That was the main reason. And so you needed to find alternative fuel sources to power the plants. But we couldn't pay for it. Because the Ministry of Finance, as is the case today, where because there is some shortfall in ECG's collection and the excess capacity payments that are necessary to be paid for, Ministry of Finance supplements and pays some bills on behalf of ECG. And so if at the time you are unable to pay, then they were not going to get the fuel, which is a pass-through commodity, to power the plants in the first place. And so that's what transpired. If you look at the data, it tells you clearly that as of 2015, we had installed capacity in excess of 3,500.
And our peak demand was what?
2,800.
So we had more capacity than
Give or
peak
take.
demand.
We definitely
but
have
it is
more
because
capacity.
we couldn't power the plants.
Absolutely.
That's why. Okay.
And the solution was to contract more power.
Why?
I'm not saying
Why was that
well,
a
the
viable
government of the day would have to explain.
Maybe they were contracting more power that's cheaper.
Not necessarily.
Is that what they did?
Not
Maybe
at
they
all.
were looking for power that's cheaper.
Well, the truth of the matter is that the power that they contracted was not cheaper.
It was not cheaper than the existing contractual
not
obligations.
Not at all.
So what is take or pay?
Indeed. Well, take or pay essentially means that if the investor makes the investment, you would buy the power whether you need it or not.
So if you buy
And
the
so
power
you
and you
either
don't need
take
it,
it
so if you
or
buy
you-
and you don't need it, where do you keep it?
Well, then it goes waste, but you still have to pay for it.
How does it go waste? What kind of price does it go?
Because if you are not consuming it, they have made an investment that ought to be repaid. And so you need to pay them the capacity.
Okay, so let's understand it. Let's
to
use
enable
a
them
generator
pay
to
for the
understand it.
investment.
So, assuming I'm an independent power producer, and let's think of it as providing a generator.
Yes.
So I talk to you, Ghana. You say you want a generator of 100 kVA.
Yes.
So I go and bring 100 kVA.
That's right.
And then I connect it to gas or fuel that powers it. Okay. So you don't need the power. Why do you turn the generator on?
Well, even if you don't turn it on,
It is producing.
no, it's not producing. But the cost of installing the generator, to me, has to be paid for because
But it's
I
not
go
a
and
one-off
contract-
payment?
No, it's not. It's spread over a period of time. I go and contract a loan from a bank to buy the generator and come and install at your facility. And you ought to give me fuel to power the plant. And of course, that's what the fuel cost plus the capacity is what gives you the energy cost, okay, which you're supposed to pay me. And so if you don't power the plant or you don't need the power, and so I nominate that, well, my plant is available to deliver the power, and you say, well, I don't have a need for it, because I still have to pay my loan that I've contracted to buy the generator and install it at your facility, I have to pay a capacity charge for the generator that
when the government says that we will pay $1 billion a year for power not needed and not used, what does it mean? John Jinapor says it's not true.
Well, the data really does not confirm what John Jinapor is saying. And it will be useful for them to then come and explain to us why they think that the figures that government is putting out is inaccurate.
So you pay the $1 billion to who?
It gets worse. Especially where you had a situation where the gas, which is a fuel, has also been contracted on a take or pay basis. So we contracted ENI to develop the Sankofa field, which is predominantly a gas producing field. It has some crude, but it's predominantly a gas producing field. And so we said to them that, well, generate the gas and then we'll pay for it whether we use it or not. And so that obligation is there. Now you have several sources of generation plants that then depend on several fuel sources, including hydro. And so even if you do not have a need for a gas plant because you have excess capacity, you are compelled to turn on the gas plant, because if you don't turn that plant on, you'll be paying excess capacity for the generation of, for the plant that you have contracted, plus the fuel that it will go to waste, because you are going to pay for the fuel as well. And so that's why we say that the payments that have been made, which amount to 17 billion, and I have all the figures here. I shared it with you earlier.
Let me send it to my people. Let's see whether they can put it on.
Includes...
So you said from 2016, we've paid 17 billion.
From 2017 to 2021, we've paid 3,258,627,942.11 dollars, which then converts to 17,312,936,958.71. I'm saying that these are actual excess capacity charges that you've made to IPPs, plus the associated fuel expenditure, including the gas that, because of the contractual arrangement that you've put in place, you are compelled to pay for. And so necessarily...
Okay, so let me understand it. So assuming, let's use simple figures we can understand. 100 is what we're generating before the excess capacity came in. And we are saying that we needed maybe 95. We didn't need 100, we have 100.
Yes.
Now there's excess capacity to about 150, which you say is expensive. And you are saying that we have to use the 150. So are we... So
you are compelled to use the additional 50.
The additional 50. What are we doing with the 100?
Of course, you have to leave it, because, for example, why not? Because if you don't, for example, and it's good you put it in simple terms.
Yeah.
So Akosombo is generating 100. You have contracted car power another 50. You need only 100. You have to use car power 50 and Akosombo 50. Why? Because if you don't use car power, you pay for car power.
But if we don't use Akosombo, we pay for it. Oh?
No, Akosombo is hydro, essentially water that is running through.
Oh, so you can shut the turbine?
Of course. You can run 2 plants as opposed to 6. But because the gas, which is powering car power, is also on a take or pay, for which if you don't use, you're going to pay for, you still have to turn on car power so you can use the gas. And so the excess then is a net off between the hydro assets that you have, that you are not using all, and the thermal that you have to, of necessity, turn on. And of course, you incur cost on both sides. So if you hear them say, particularly our friends in the NDC, now I've read some statement that John Jinapo has released, suggesting some justification for Ameri and car power. And
he says Ameri has now become our own plant.
But of course, if you have a BOOT that runs for a 5-year period, and they have built, they have operated, owned, and necessarily the transfer has to take place. So if they transfer, then really...
He's talking about the vision that they had.
It's not a question of vision.
Because
it's
he's giving us 250
it doesn't matter. It's a question of how much it cost you relative to what it is that was in place and what it is that the residual then leaves you. Okay, we all recall the debate on the cost of the Ameri plant when it was installed. Indeed, and in fact, Ameri has not been turned off for in excess of 12 months, and we are not encountering any doomsday. It's in good condition.
Ameri has not been turned on.
It's not been turned on.
We are not using it
because we don't need it.
You don't need the 250 megawatts?
We don't need it.
But when you had lights off on Saturday, why didn't you turn on Ameri?
But of course, that will require gas, and it was as a result of the gas pressure that you couldn't turn on the plants that had triggered some fault within the Greco system. So if not as a result of it not being available, okay, or that it's not installed.
It's a technical mishap.
It was a technical mishap that then led to, but I'm saying that Ameri is not part of our generation mix today because clearly we have excess capacity that then gives us the room that to the extent that we are not paying additional capacity on it, we can keep it
down, yeah.
and elect to move it to another part of Ghana to help with grid stability in the event that we encountered over the weekend, to provide some additional electricity generation to support the grid. Not because there's a shortfall in the generation mix that we have as we speak. So I fail to see how they can even justify any conversation regarding the excess that is obvious on the face of all the documents that is available within the public space, and to the World Bank that they claim to be the.
So we've paid $3 billion of money that we could have avoided. That's the point you're saying. That if those plants for which we paid the $3 billion since 2016 were not there, we wouldn't have had an energy crisis.
No, we wouldn't. We would. You see, there has been an incremental growth in demand
since 2017.
Since 2017, and so the World Bank document that I made reference to, you see clearly that it is only in 2020 that we have begun to consume on a net off basis the additional capacity that was added between 2015 and 2020.
Net off basis means that we have to shut down hydro.
That, of course, that you had to manage your generation mix such that you don't incur more costs because of the gas component that is associated with the generation that you contracted.
So why is nobody being questioned about this?
Well, I guess that it's not very easy to pierce and establish some ill motive. Okay, and so it's difficult, particularly, I'm sure, with respect to the training that you've had in the past, to as it were, attribute criminality and hold people to account. But the truth of the matter is that the actions and inactions of some officials in the past has led this country to pay for all these sums of money that cannot be denied.
But you are talking about an incremental growth in demand since 2017. Assuming they didn't do this excess power, what would we have done with that growth in demand?
Well, that's why it's important to follow the Energy Commission plan. That because demand is growing, you add on at every point in time what you actually will need going forward. And so yes, within the next 3-4 years, if we do not do anything at all, we potentially may get into a doomsday situation. But you can't go and add 5,000 megawatts within 3 years.
When we need
only about 500. Okay, so you ought to follow the plan that then allows you to add 500 per year, so that the kind of expenditure that we've incurred, which would have done a lot of other things that you heard the sports minister mention, has had to be paid for power that essentially we didn't need and consume.
$3 billion is a lot of money.
In fact, 17 billion.
CDs.
Yes.
But $3 billion.
$3 billion.
It's a lot of money.
Look, I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues on the other side this morning.
Today is not 17. It's times 7. 3 times 21.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's really late. And I said to him that, look, you can put up your justification, because they claim that, well, in their 2012 manifesto, they promised that they were going to deliver 5,000 megawatts. And so if they achieve that, regardless of what the cost implications on Ghana is, say so and defend it. But don't let it look as if to say those who are saying that those actions that you took has led to Ghana incurring huge costs are lying, because they are not.
So what's
you
the
can
future?
justify your decision that, well, you were really intended on achieving your manifesto promise, and so achieving 5,000 megawatts was consistent with your manifesto promise of 2012. But that does not take away the fact that that decision led to huge costs that the exchequer has had to pay for. And these are matters of fact.
What's the future of our energy situation in the next 2 years? Are we going to have doom? So are we not,
not
going to have? Today we are hearing of we're hearing ECG asking us to pay over 100% more.
But
Johnson Apple says another thing. He says ECG is broke.
Well, ECG could be broke, But who caused them?
You have been in power for 2017 and 2022.
Really, of course. I mean, so the decisions that, and bear in mind that ECG is the off-taker of all the power purchase agreements because they are the distributor.
So the bill goes against them?
Of course.
But the bill has been paid. You say
but of course, the government of Ghana pays the bill and they are indebted. And shortfalls in their collections and all that, technical losses account for the operational difficulties that they face, for which measures are being rolled out to ensure that those issues are dealt with. But that is distinguishable from whether we're going to have doomsday arising out of some deficiency in our generation mix, or that the distribution
finance.
Company, yes,
or from
absolutely,
finance.
Absolutely.
Are we threatened by doomsday at this time?
We are not. We are not threatened by doomsday at all because, like I said, if you look at the data, and I love the vice president when he says the data because those are incontrovertible. Okay, the data clearly supports the notion that we are not threatened by doomsday. Indeed, as we speak, the ministry is engaged in conversations with some power purchase agreements that were signed, approved by Parliament before 2017, but had to be deferred through negotiations because they hadn't commenced execution. Those conversations have begun to allow some of them to begin building their plans, just so that by the time that per the Energy Commission's plan, okay, additional
so in
capacity,
terms of where we are, the additional capacity that was added in 2014-15 has now been exhausted.
No.
But why are you then asking
but
people
of course,
to do?
but within 3-4 years, we will begin to see that there's a need for some addition to be added. But I'm saying that it takes time for power plants to be built. So if you don't start earlier and wait till 2025, 26 to have the conversation, you may be caught, pants down. So it's important for you to start the negotiation now so that people can mobilize and start building, so that by the time that your demand grows to the point where additions are necessary, then you are not.
If we successfully resist the ECG's tariff demand,
but
Dr. Reko says we'll be in doomsday.
Look, we won't be. I mean,
even if we resist the ECG's demand.
But ECG has, and you are pretty old in this enterprise.
Quite.
You started in Legon.
Yes.
When you and I were there. Not you and I were not there. We were in Legon when you started this enterprise.
Yes.
And you know that at every major tariff review, ECG submits its wish list.
Yes.
Tall list. Justifying why whatever it is that they are asking for ought to be considered and approved. The PURC, consistent with their mandate, does the assessment, does the evaluation, and come out with what it is that ECG actually deserve. And I haven't seen at any point where ECG has actually gotten where it's asked for. In fact, in 2018, there was actually a reduction as opposed to the period between 2010 and 2016, where apart from the election year of 2012, every single year, electricity tariffs were increased between 2013 and 2016 by average of 166% cumulative. Okay, so yes, ECG will submit this wish list. They would, try and justify why, but PURC is then mandated to do the assessment evaluation of the
So you're saying that we may not be paying as much as ECG says we should pay?
I don't think so at all. Indeed, some analysis that I've seen, okay, if the tariff mechanism is actually even changed, there's a possibility that some category of consumers may actually experience tariff reductions. But that task is that of the PURC, and I have every confidence that they will do what it is that is needed.
People complain that street lights don't get on. Street lights don't get switched on.
Street lights don't get switched on?
Yeah, that you drive with Accra, Kumasi, Takra, the street lights are off.
Well, I don't know where exactly that they're making these references to, but there are sufficient enough street lights across the entire regional capitals, district capitals. And so question really is whether street lights, and this is a conversation that we are having in the ministry, whether street lights is actually the responsibility of the Ministry of Energy, or is roadside infrastructure that then has to be the responsibility of the Ministry of Roads, urban roads, and the like. But that's a conversation that's ongoing. But for now, it is the duty of the ministry to assist the MMDCs, okay, to then install street lights within their jurisdictions, and of course the ceremonial roads in the regional capitals that then the ministry also supports.
So finally, for those of you
we are doing consistently.
For those of you in energy ministry, you are not worried about the future.
That doomsaw? No, not at all.
You are not?
Not at all.
But we're going to be experiencing power outages like what happened on Saturday?
Well, to the extent that you operate equipment, okay, you cannot predict. Obviously, there are planned outages and unplanned outages. Planned outages, I expect the ECG and GridCo, if they're doing, like when they were doing the transition onto the new bulk supply point in Pokwase and also in Kaswa, where, and of course, when they were doing the stringing of the new lines to then communicate that we're going to take off power within certain periods to do a certain exercise. The Doom-CSA exercise that my minister christened, okay, those are definitely announced and people are allowed to plan for. But if you have an emergency, some unplanned outage, which happens because we don't have sufficient enough resources to do redundant lines, as advanced or some countries do, so that when there's a fault on one, they can quickly switch over onto another line. Okay, until we get that point, we can't expect that occasionally
these things will
happen. But they are not programmed outages as we saw with timetables that ran for in excess of 5 years.
Let me come to our social media and conclude at that point. Do you have text messages? Yes, Matilda, let's start.
Yes, I have a personal question.
Yes.
Yes, I would like to ask the minister that if electricity and fuel are so expensive nowadays, why don't we turn to other forms of energy like solar? Is the government willing to look at these other forms of electricity in the future, like solar? And then also for cooking and for fuel, we can look at ethanol-based fuels.
That's your question?
Yes.
We'll hold that there. He will answer it. Christabel? Yes, please read it.
Okay, so this is from Gayseman. He says, so can the minister explain why, in spite of these negligence, no action has been taken against those who took that decision of pick or pay program? Are they going to take action or continue to explain? And also coming from Jones Pence, Paul asked the minister about Tema Oil Refinery.
He didn't say what I should ask about Tema Oil Refinery.
He said you should ask the minister about Tema Oil Refinery.
What about it? Okay. Haja, do you have something?
Yes, this is from Abdul Salam Mohammed. He said the current information as contained in the 2022 electricity supply plan reports doesn't agree with what the deputy minister is saying. In fact, additional generation capacity will be needed from 2023, specifically 184 megawatts, 187 megawatts, 140 megawatts, and 337 megawatts. Additional generation capacity will be needed in 2023, 2024, 2026, and 2027, respectively. I think we need to stop the blame game and solve this matter once and for all. Dede Gloria says, Paul, please ask the deputy minister if it has come to their attention that ECG has not been able to provide new meters to applicants for about a year now. That's in Koforidua.
A number of the viewers are also asking about TOR. They said we should ask the minister what the government is.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Has Christianity always been one of the religions in the world to you?
Oh, hallelujah. Praise God. Christianity is not a religion, neither is it a joining of a church and doing the Christian things like praying and giving and so on.